It was an unusually wonderful working morning with no signs of trouble. However, when he was riding a motorcycle to his customer, Lewis was hit by a suddenly appearing truck. The driver fled the scene, leaving the seriously injured hero on the road. He couldn't allow himself to be able to do this so simply, especially after he finally raised money for his sister's operation. The guy began to try to get up, overcoming the pain throughout his body. After he failed to get up, Lewis crawled to the phone on which he had previously communicated with his sister. When he finally reached his destination, the call had already been dropped by the other party, after which the guy accidentally clicked on the bunker app and soon lost consciousness. When the hero opened his eyes, he did not understand what was happening when he discovered that he was lying on someone's lap. Turning over onto his back, he saw a stunning girl talking to someone on the phone. She ended the conversation when she noticed that the guy had regained consciousness and said that she found him along the road after he most likely got into an accident. Lewis was overcome with embarrassment at the fact that he did not appear in the best light in front of this girl. After thanking her, he said his name. The hero said that he works as a courier in the company of a well-fed samurai, and while fulfilling his order, he was hit by a truck. After listening to him, Olivia said that she had already called an ambulance for him, mentioning that she was also an employee of this company. Lewis suddenly remembered that he had not finished speaking to his sister and crawled towards his phone. Unlocking his mobile phone, he was surprised by what was displayed on the screen. Lewis read that he had no more than 3 minutes to live because the percentage of his vitality was decreasing exponentially. While the hero was trying to figure out what was happening, Olivia called the ambulance again to find out how soon they would arrive, because the guy began to delirium after his injuries. Suddenly, the system's voice rang out in our hero's head, telling him that he should use the nearest power source within 2 minutes to restore vital energy. While the girl was talking on the phone, unnoticed by her, the guy, with the last of his strength, crawled towards the car that was so conveniently parked a couple of meters away. After a few long seconds, the hero reached his goal. As soon as he touched the wheel of the car, electricity pleasantly pricked his fingers, as if penetrating into his veins. When Olivia turned around to check on the boy, to her surprise, she found no one. Lewis grabbed his broken motorcycle and ran away, due to the fact that he could not afford to spend money on riding an ambulance. It was only a few minutes later, when he was quite far from the scene of the incident, that he realized that he had been completely healed after touching the car. The hero remembered the application on his phone and assumed that the energy he had absorbed was converted into points, which pulled him out of the clutches of death. Lewis decided to put off thinking until later. He might attract unnecessary attention if he stood on the street covered in blood. Suddenly the phone rang and the guy saw his girlfriend's name displayed. As soon as he answered the call, a hail of words rained down on him. The hero apologized to the girl for the fact that, again, he would not be able to devote time to her due to the fact that in his free time he was going to visit his sister. When the girl said they were breaking up because she couldn't take it anymore, Lewis said his sister just had surgery and he needed to be with her. Oksana replied that she was tired of waiting for the guy to sort out all the debts for paying for the operation and being content with only rare meetings that lasted no more than an hour. When the hero asked to give him another chance, she replied that she already had a new boyfriend and she no longer needed Lewis. After this conversation, he was devastated. It seemed to him that the whole world was turned against him that day. The thought involuntarily even slipped through that it would be good if the end of the world came. He would not have to repay all the debts he had taken. Remembering the application that saved his life, the hero rejected all these thoughts and pulled himself together. He would not miss the chance given to him and would definitely become an important person in the future. Suddenly, his frightened sister called him and asked his brother to come as soon as possible to save her. No less frightened for Alice, Lewis asked what happened. The girl replied that many strange people had appeared in the hospital and were biting others. He told the girl to hide in a safe place and wait for him. The hero didn't understand why he was so unlucky today. He wouldn't be able to quickly get to the hospital because his motorcycle was broken. Suddenly, the app offered the guy to spend 50 points to fix his broken motorcycle. The offer was very tempting, but the problem was that he didn't have that many points. After his words, the system reported that 500 meters from here, there is an energy block with which you can get points. Meanwhile, Oksana was in her new boyfriend's car, saying that she had cut off all ties with her ex. She said he went into huge debt to pay for his sister's chip operation. The man replied that for those who have money, implanting an artificial intelligence chip is not difficult. Therefore, if a girl also wants such a chip, then she should show all her abilities. Suddenly, a silhouette of someone appeared in the car window, which seriously frightened the man. Lewis absorbed the energy of the discovered car, after which his motorcycle was instantly transformed, and the guy also learned that the speed was increased by 30%. The hero realized that this system was quite useful. It not only indicated the location of the energy source, but also improved the parameters of the motorcycle, knowing that it was in a hurry. An hour later, the guy finally got to the hospital where Alice was. Lewis was surprised to see huge bloodstains everywhere. He entered the building, lighting his way with a telephone flashlight. The further the guy went, the more blood there was on the walls and floor. Lewis tried to understand what happened here. Suddenly, a man came out of the room behind him. When he approached the man, he recognized him as a dog owner to whom he constantly delivers food. The guy asked if everything was okay with him. The hero never received an answer because before his eyes, the man began to turn into a terrible monster. Then he rushed at Lewis. Lewis jumped to the side, avoiding the monster's attack, causing it to crash into the wall. Suddenly, a girl appeared in front of him, whom he recognized as his sister's attending physician. The hero pointed to the former dog walker, saying that something strange was happening to him. When she leaned towards him, Lewis saw that the doctor had become the same monster. Out of fear, he crawled towards the wall. A moment later, a crowd of mutants burst into the corridor. Lewis immediately jumped to his feet and ran into the nearest room. The door could hardly withstand the onslaught of monsters who were eager to get to their goal. Looking around, he realized that he was in a video surveillance room. On one of the monitors, he noticed his sister. The system warned him that the girl from the screen was at the stage of one of the stages of mutation. A few years ago, there was a big breakthrough in the field of science, genetic engineering, and programming. Artificial intelligence quickly entered people's lives. Constant genetic engineering experiments have led to the development of a terrible disease, black blood. A person with this diagnosis gradually becomes numb in his limbs, which leads to a slow death. He can only be cured with the help of an expensive chip. One day he found a sad sister sitting on the bank of the river and asked her about what had happened to her. The girl replied that she had not found out about his debts incurred to cure her. Sitting down next to her, Lewis said that she shouldn't worry about it. He had a lot of orders and would soon sort out all the debts. When Alice began to cry, he stroked her head, saying that after the death of their parents, she became the most dear person to him, and he was ready to do anything to cure her. After his words, she admitted that she tried to commit suicide, thinking that if she died, it would be much easier for her brother. It was on that day that Lewis vowed to himself to do everything possible to keep his sister alive. Suddenly, the phone in his pocket began to vibrate, and the system announced that a solution had been created to resolve the current situation. Taking his cell phone in his hands, he learned that he was being offered to go out into the corridor and turn left into the laundry room, inside of which there was a secret passage. This idea seemed pure suicide to the guy. Suddenly, he noticed a mop standing nearby, and a plan began to formulate in his head on how to get out of the room with minimal risks. He blocked the door with a mop and barricaded it with a table for safety. Afterwards, he collected all the available means that could help him. A few minutes later, one of the monsters managed to get inside, after which the mutated girl immediately rushed towards her target. Lewis managed to finish his weapon in time, with which he repelled the attack on himself. The next moment, the mutant's head exploded. He spent 100 points to reconstruct the mop, knife, and machine oil into decent weapons. He also managed to transform his bag into a strong plastic armor that would protect him from zombie teeth. A moment later, he rushed at the rest of the monsters crowded at the door. A few minutes later, he managed to get to the laundry room safe and sound. Lewis wondered how the system had come up with the idea of calling the narrow hole for dirty laundry a secret passage. Resigning himself to the fact that he had no other choice, covering his nose with his hand, he climbed into the hole. A few seconds later, he found himself in the laundry room on the ground floor, and through the open door, the guy saw his sister being taken away by armed men. Meanwhile, the military captured their target. They did not expect that capturing the legendary mutant would be so simple. The girl at the head of the operation suddenly heard someone screaming at the end of the corridor and signaled to her people to stop. The hero tried to catch up with the military. He could not allow them to take Alice to an unknown place. Suddenly, someone pulled him by the hand somewhere around the corner, throwing him off his intended path. He was scared when an unknown person covered his mouth so that the guy would not have the opportunity to attract unnecessary attention. Marie ordered her subordinates to search the rooms at the end of the corridor where the sounds were coming from. Alice, who had not shown resistance until that moment, suddenly attacked the man standing next to her, breaking the handcuffs. Others immediately opened fire, intending to get rid of the out-of-control threat, but she jumped into the open hatch on the ceiling, avoiding the bullets. The next moment, a whole crowd of zombies appeared and rushed at them. Lewis had already come to terms with the fact that it was all over for him. There were a dozen monsters a few meters away from him, especially since he was grabbed by an unknown person. Imagine his surprise when they let him go and turned around. The guy saw his old friend who decided to play a joke on him. Lewis asked if the man knew anything about what was happening now. He replied that they were now at war because someone detonated a BIO weapon and most of the population became zombies. When the hero heard that this situation happened because of people with chips, his heart skipped a beat for a moment. Noticing that the zombies were almost done with the military, Lewis said that they needed to leave as soon as possible. But the man replied that he could not go with him because he had been bitten earlier. It was difficult for the hero to accept the fact that his friend would die. He hoped that some way out of their situation could still be found. But he only patted the guy on the head, saying that his fate was already sealed. The last thing he could do as a friend was to hold the door, giving Lewis a chance to get out through the backyard and catch up with his sister. He fought back his tears as he listened to the man, but he was right. He needed to save Alice. A moment later, the hero picked up his weapon and rushed to the other end of the corridor without looking back. The man who sacrificed himself looked after him. He was happy that he had the opportunity to meet this boy, who often spoiled him with delicious sandwiches. As Lewis ran into the adjacent hallway, the system reported that black blood serum had been detected near the exit. He demolished the zombie in front with one kick. A few minutes later, having dealt with all the monsters that came his way, the guy found himself at the entrance to the laboratory. As soon as he went inside, Alice suddenly appeared in front of him. Being in a state of mutation, she immediately rushed at him, driven by instincts. Lewis had no intention of dodging. He just hugged his sister with tears in his eyes, telling her to wake up. Finding herself in her brother's arms, the girl's consciousness began to return. The next moment, a sharp pain pierced her head and she fell to her knees, clutching her head. The hero was frightened by what was happening to Alice. When Lewis asked what was wrong with his sister, the system replied that there was an error in its algorithm. In order to reduce its influence, it was worth using a suppression serum. After that, the guy reached for the bottle of serum. When the treasured jar of liquid was in his possession, an alarm was activated, informing him that the main research sample had been stolen, causing the building to self-destruct in 10 minutes. The girl was again seized by madness and she attacked her brother. The hero injected her with the serum, hoping that it would help Alice. A couple of seconds later, her gaze cleared and she came to her senses. However, she immediately lost consciousness, after which the system reported that the mission to save her sister was successfully completed and the girl's mutation was suspended, and the guy received 1,000 points as a reward. After this, Lewis was presented with a new quest. He was given the choice of abandoning his sister and escaping through the laundry along the same path, or reaching the utility room of the research institute using the blueprints and reconstructing the shelter to save himself. Without hesitation, he chose the second option and ran towards the exit, holding Alice in his arms. The hero hoped that the system was not mistaken and the modified room could withstand the explosion. Suddenly, a silhouette appeared at the entrance to the laboratory. As Lewis came closer, he recognized the woman who commanded the detachment that was trying to capture his sister. Stopping opposite her, the guy asked her to stop the hostility between them. Because the building was about to be destroyed, they both needed to escape from here as quickly as possible. Suddenly, the system alerted him to a high-level zombie detected nearby. At the same moment, the woman began to tear her clothes. The hero came even closer to her and, closing his eyes, said that it was very dangerous here, and if she wanted, it would be safer for them to leave together. However, the next moment, there was already a zombie standing in front of him. When the system again reported an extremely dangerous zombie, he jumped aside. The guy wanted to use his points to create a weapon, but there was nothing here that could be modified, and the zombie again approached its victim, leaving no chance of escape. Lewis was preparing for death for the umpteenth time today, but Alice, who had regained consciousness, arrived in time and repelled the monster's attack. Despite this situation, the hero was glad that his sister regained consciousness and was okay. 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 When the alarm sounded again, he touched the girl's shoulder, saying that they needed to get out of here as soon as possible or they would die. Seeing that she did not react in any way to his words, he again picked up Alice in his arms and ran in the direction of the shelter. When they were finally inside, he and his sister pressed against the door with all their strength to prevent the monster from getting inside. A couple of seconds later, they managed to lock the door. In exchange for a few points, the hero received an electric ball in his hand. He hit it on the floor, after which blue stripes appeared throughout the room from the point of impact, pouring into a geometric pattern. A second later, the security system went into the self-destruction stage and there was a strong explosion. The flames from the former hospital building could be seen from several tens of kilometers. As the smoke from the explosion began to clear, Lewis opened his eyes, unable to believe that he was still alive. However, the next moment he was amazed at how much the room had changed. It became several times larger and essential things appeared in it. The system reported that at the moment the shelter is only on the first level, and in the future it can be upgraded, expanding the territory. A few minutes later, he was fixing an old computer found in the room. After Lewis asked the system about his sister's current condition, he was told that the serum had temporarily slowed the spread of the black blood disease and removed the influence of the chip. The system warned that this remedy is not effective on ordinary people with chips. Those with black blood, after mutation, become several times stronger than ordinary zombies. Such people are called mutants. After this, the hero remembered the woman from the military, assuming that she was also a mutant, but the system replied that she was an ordinary zombie. Black blood mutants are a completely different species, located at the very top. Having gained access to the network, Lewis decided to take this opportunity and contact the police. In his opinion, the state should have taken control of the problem with the virus. From various sources, he learned that the number of infected people around the world was growing rapidly every minute. The military was unable to cope with the infected, and losing their people, they began to retreat. The more information he found about what was happening, thoughts about the end of the world began to haunt him more and more often. He didn't know what to do in this situation, especially when his sister was slowly turning into a zombie. The hero asked the system if there was a way to save Alice. He was told that the only way was to upgrade the shelter to level 5 in order to unlock the vaccine research center. Lewis asked the system to show him a detailed layout of the shelter. After examining everything, he asked what the note about damage to the ventilation system meant. He learned that the explosion destroyed almost all the ventilation ducts. If they are not repaired, then everyone in the shelter will soon begin to experience a lack of oxygen. Immediately after that, he reached the ventilation bow on the ceiling, intending to fix the problem. The guy stuck his hand in there and, spending 30 points, began repairs using the system's abilities. A couple of moments later, the fan started moving again. He was very happy when he realized that he could get points for modifying things that could be fixed. After that, he began to change almost everything at hand. During the process, he asked what was going on with his sister, suggesting that she had a memory impairment. The system responded that the girl's intelligence and memory scores were stuck at the level of a 7-year-old child. Lewis promised himself that no matter what, he would find a way to cure Alice and return her to her previous state, squeezing the bottle of liquid, which is why it could not stand it, and the contents began to leak out. Alice woke up from this sound, causing the surprised guy to freeze. Seeing the suspicious white viscous substance, the girl called her brother a pervert. Dripping with cold sweat, the hero tried to explain that his sister had misunderstood everything, but all his attempts were in vain. The next day, another detachment of military personnel approached the hospital. When Alice fell asleep, the hero covered her with a blanket found here, after which a system window appeared informing him that, as a gift for surviving the first day, he received a chance to play in the newcomer's lottery. At the same time, a new task appeared, which was to find an energy room and build it. First, the guy decided to play the lottery and then move on to completing the task. When the spinning wheel stopped, he was rewarded with a vaccine, which was worth a lot of points in the system store. He asked if it could cure zombies. The system replied that the vaccine can only suppress the influence of the chip and increase the body's resistance to the virus, but it does not cure zombies. After that, the guy injected himself with this drug and asked if it was possible to repair the generator in the underground institute to provide the shelter with energy. He was informed that the generator's energy core had been destroyed, but there was a spare one in the dean's office on the 8th floor of the hospital's research department. Immediately after this, a system window appeared in front of him with a new task. Suddenly he realized that if other people could come to the shelter he had created, then the hero could recruit a bunch of surviving beauties. With difficulty, he decided to give up dreams of beauties and focus on saving humanity. First, he would need to solve the food problem. Watching the strange expression on her brother's face, Alice again called him a pervert. It hit Lewis hard that his image as a good big brother was destroyed once again. Outside, zombies were scurrying around the area. The hero climbed out through an underground hatch. He had to get to the nearby hospital building, which is a research center. Watching from under the hatch cover, he guessed the moment when the zombies began to leave. The guy immediately got to the surface, after which he began to help his sister. He planned to do everything alone to reduce the risks. However, the girl grabbed his bike with trembling hands, not wanting to let go. Walking into the hospital courtyard, he saw several surviving zombies being eaten alive, while other zombies were wandering around in search of their next victim. Lewis was horrified by what he saw. He took his sister by the hand, and they ran to the nearest shelter to remain unnoticed by the monsters. The hero realized that from now on, in this world, he and his sister can only rely on each other. Suddenly, another zombie came out from around the corner, forcing the guy to stop. It pained him to look at his old friend in front of him. A couple of seconds later, Lewis removed the weapon from his shoulder, intending to free the body and soul of the person he loved from the effects of the virus. Meanwhile, on the roof of one of the hospital buildings, a crowd of zombies was approaching their victims. But it was not difficult for the armed men to get rid of the monsters. The girl managing the 8th Special Forces Squad came forward and told her people to cease fire. She personally took on the task of destroying the zombies, dealing with them in a matter of seconds. When one of the subordinates decided to help Linda, he was stopped, saying that if their captain intervened, then they could only watch. The man explained that this girl enjoys every battle, and she would never allow the opportunity to have fun to be stolen from her. A couple of minutes later, all the zombies were destroyed, and Linda did not have a scratch on her. At the same time, Lewis asked the system to improve his weapon, and a moment later, the previously created spear turned into a fiery blade. After that, he immediately rushed forward, destroying his friend's body. Bitter tears flowed down his cheeks, but he had a duty to protect his sister. He could not afford weakness. Without turning around, he told Alice that they needed to move on. His goal was already close. He just had to get to the 8th floor. At the same time, there were 2 more survivors on the 4th floor who were trying to get out of the building. Not noticing the zombie appearing from around the corner, the guy promised the girl that as soon as they get out of here, they will immediately get married. However, the next moment he was bitten. The girl immediately pulled her hand out of the guy's hands, saying that she was not going to follow him to the grave, forgetting that a crowd of zombies was chasing them from behind. A moment later, she repeated the guy's fate. A man from around the corner watching this realized that further on there was a dead end, and they needed to look for another way out. Turning to the other survivors, he told the boy to go to the other end of the corridor and find out the situation. The boy's sister was indignant, asking why it had to be her brother. They responded to her words that they didn't need useless people in their group. Suddenly, one girl came to the child's defense, surprising the others. She said that she is the director's secretary and she knows everything here. There are no less zombies on the right side than here. If he goes there, the boy will die. After her words, Richard suggested that she go there herself, causing bewilderment in the girl. Everyone else supported the man, saying that this was the majority opinion. The next moment, one of the survivors threw the guy forward. He looked at his sister with tears in his eyes. The boy who appeared immediately attracted the attention of the zombies. The girl watched in horror as her brother was bitten by a zombie, unable to do anything. Lewis suddenly appeared and pierced the monster's head, saving the boy from the hands of death. Maria fell to her knees, not believing that her prayers were heard and God sent this guy to save them. The hero looked around, counting the number of opponents. Taking advantage of the moment, a group of survivors decided to escape and find a safer shelter. Turning around, Maria was surprised when she saw that the hero who had appeared had no intention of leaving. The girl decided to stay and watch what the boy would do alone with a crowd of monsters. When the zombies got close enough, he charged straight at them. Maria watched in fascination as Lewis killed his enemies one by one. The girl was amazed at his strength. She had never seen anyone as capable as this guy. Watching the smooth movements of the hero, she involuntarily formed an association with a dancer, skillfully performing his routine. She could not stand on her feet, watching such a delightful picture. The woman from the group returned for the girls who had lagged behind the group. When she looked around the corner, she saw a guy standing with a weapon near the dead bodies of zombies. Richard's assistant fought off the group, running away in an unknown direction. When he was no longer able to run, the man stopped, leaning on the wall to catch his breath. The sudden appearance of fog frightened him, but the next moment the girl who came forward captured all his attention. The man approached her, saying that he would definitely protect her if they went together. When the man realized that he had made a mistake by buying into her appearance, it was already too late. The tentacles hidden under her clothes pierced right through his chest. At the same time, Lewis introduced himself to the girls. He admitted that he had not seen other people for a long time and was a little nervous. A woman who flew up to him inquired about the situation outside the hospital and asked if the government had come to their aid. Lewis replied that the government had collapsed and almost the entire world was filled with zombies, which plunged her into great shock. Then he turned to the girl standing next to him, asking where the stairs were. He needed to go up to the 8th floor. Masha did not hear his question. The thoughts that someone so prominent had spoken to her filled her entire head. The man who suddenly came out was furious. He did not believe the boy's words that their incredibly strong army had fallen. Lewis replied that he could not get through to anyone, and more than a day had already passed since the monsters appeared, but the government's vaunted army had not arrived here. The man said that they needed time to get here, but the girl, after analyzing the information, came to the conclusion that the end of the world had come. The hero did not waste any more time on the man and approached his brother and sister, asking if they were okay. Gwen thanked him for saving the boy. Lewis replied that he also had a youngest and he could not close his eyes to it. Richard did not intend to end the conversation in this way, which is why he again clung to the guy. He hit the man in the face, after which he flew several meters back. Clutching his sore cheek, Richard asked how someone like him dared to hit a high-ranking person. The hero replied with contempt in his eyes that he saw how he treated the other survivors. Suddenly, his assistant appeared behind the man. He immediately ordered his subordinate to teach a lesson to the impudent man who dared to hit him. But to his surprise, the subordinate bit the man on the shoulder, causing him another attack of pain. Lewis ran towards the monster, telling everyone else to get out of here. However, with the monster that appeared, everything was not as simple as with the others. The tentacle that escaped threw the guy aside. Lewis realized that this was not an ordinary zombie, but a mutant. He just now noticed a strange fog around the monster. When he felt someone approaching from the side, the guy immediately attacked. To his surprise, the blade got stuck in the enemy's body. The monster itself was just about ready to bite off the head of its victim. At the last second, the hero still managed to damage the enemy, forcing the zombies to retreat. The moment a tentacle emerged from her mouth, Lewis realized that there was another mutant zombie in front of him. Alice appeared on time, intercepting the enemy's limb in question. 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 Enemies. Suddenly, armed people flew through the broken windows of the corridor. The girl in charge began shooting at the monsters. Lewis watched this, trying not to get shot. When everything was over, Linda said that no one should move, and the military aimed their machine guns at the people. The girl said that they had been looking for Lewis for quite some time. The hero blocked his sister, asking what the military needed. In response to his question, Linda said that her goal was the girl behind his back. At the same time, one of the subordinates scanned Richard and informed the captain that he was VIP user of state protection. The girl replied that they should take him with them. Immediately after this, the man pointed at Lewis and said that he hit him and wanted to force him to go out to the zombies to certain death, so the military should get rid of him. The hero was unhappy that after everything that had happened, the man blamed everything on him. Richard interrupted his angry speech when he felt the barrel of a gun at his head. Linda said that if he said one more word, she would shoot him without hesitation. Suddenly, the subordinate said that the zombies had come to life and were moving again. They attacked the military, punching right through the men with their tentacles. Lewis could not help but take advantage of this opportunity. He grabbed his sister and told Masha to show the way to the stairs to the 8th floor. Linda was unable to stop them, left alone with 2 mutant zombies who were gradually regenerating their severed limbs. Sometime later, Lewis, in the company of his sister Masha and Glenn with her brother, was walking up the stairs. When Masha asked if those people were government troops, the hero replied that it was quite possible, but he could not trust them because they needed his sister. When the guy apologized for dragging the girls into this, Masha said that she believed him, and in any case, those people only save those who have VIP. Glenn agreed with her words, once again thanking him for saving her brother. The hero thanked the girls for trusting him. He even began to think about allowing them to enter his hideout. Suddenly he noticed something that made him stop. The boy's hand was bitten, and the virus was slowly spreading throughout his body. Turning to Glenn, he was going to tell her about this, thinking about what the presence of an infected among them could lead to. But the guy didn't have time to do this. The system warned him about the presence of a high-level zombie mutant nearby. Raising his head to the top, he saw a monster hanging over them. Lewis grabbed Masha's hand, drawing her attention to him. In that brief moment, the girl managed to describe in her fantasies their entire life together. While she was soaring in her fantasies, the guy moved the girl away, saving her from the impending danger in the form of an attacking tentacle. After that, he told the girls to move away. A second later, the hero cut off such a dangerous limb of the monster. He howled in pain, returning the limb back. More zombies came in response to the noise, breaking through the wall towards their victims. Lewis attacked them, telling the girls to hurry up and run. Suddenly, the monster whose head he pierced grabbed the weapon. The guy realized that the new arrivals were mutant zombies. His attention was attracted by Masha's cry that the monster should not approach them. She held the girl close to protect her. Linda suddenly appeared and got rid of the zombie approaching Masha. The hero was surprised that the girl managed to survive after meeting 2 mutants earlier. The previously shot monster began to recover. Glenn shouted that other zombies were also going up. Louis opened the door leading to the floor, telling the girls to run inside, and he and Linda went to fight the zombies. He asked where all her people were, hoping for help, but the girl replied that they were all dead. She managed to escape only with the help of an invisibility cloak. What was happening seemed very strange to him, because the system said that for 100,000 people only 1 zombie mutant could appear in a building, but 5 had already appeared here. Suddenly, the mutant zombie they had seen earlier burst through the wall and grabbed the boy. When he was bitten on the neck, he tearfully begged his sister for help. The girl couldn't just watch this and wanted to run to her brother. But Louis grabbed her hand, saying that he had already been bitten and could not be saved. She looked up at him, full of tears, and asked what he would do in her place if his sister was attacked. The hero thought for a moment, and Glenn took advantage of the moment and, tearing out her hand, ran to her brother. But the first monster that came her way attacked her, and the girl shared the fate of her brother. This was the first time Louis felt so helpless while watching this scene. Linda got his attention by telling him to figure out how they could save the others while she fought off the zombies. Grabbing his weapon, the guy said that he had an idea. He activated his fire blade and raised it upward to illuminate the ceiling above them. After he discovered the monster on the ceiling, the hero told the girl that he controls all these zombies. Louis explained that he acts in the same way as an anglerfish, using his tentacles to control the others, which is why the zombies do not die. Immediately after his words, Linda began shooting at the mutant zombie. The appendages with which the monsters moved began to break off, causing dead bodies to fall to the floor. One zombie was still alive and rushed at Masha, who was protecting Alice. Suddenly, the girl broke out of the tight embrace and slammed her enemy into the floor with one blow, causing great surprise among the girls. The next moment, he tried to recover. But Louis could not allow this, so he threw his weapon at him, after which the system said that he had committed the first murder of a mutant zombie, for which he was awarded 100 points. He turned to Linda, thanking her for her help. But the next moment, a weapon was pointed at him, causing him to freeze. The girl said that, although she was pleased to fight together, her ultimate goal was his mutant sister. Louis tried to convince her to listen to him. Linda interrupted his attempts to say something, threatening to shoot him in the head. Pointing his finger at the girl behind Linda, the hero said he was only trying to warn her that she was targeting the wrong person. Turning around, she saw that it was not Alice at all standing in front of her second pistol. Taking advantage of her hesitation, the guy attacked her. She wanted to throw him off with a kick, but he dodged. The girl couldn't help but notice his excellent close combat skills. Lost in thought, she missed the moment when the hero was behind, immobilizing her. He asked why she needed his sister, but the girl replied that she was only a soldier and followed orders. Suddenly the couple fell to the floor. Louis blushed when he found the girl lying in his arms. Masha again succumbed to her fantasies, amazed at such a rapid development of events. Linda was about to attack the impudent man, whose hands were in a completely unacceptable position. The hero couldn't think of a better way to block her attack other than to kiss the girl, taking her by surprise. Returning to reality, Masha said that their mercy was completely out of place now, and then pointed to the door of the laboratory. When they went inside, they found the infected hospital director in his chair. Louis immediately stabbed him with his dagger. Masha approached the computer, saying that she was his secretary and had heard something about a military research project called the Son of God. She found information that the Minister of Health ordered their hospital to conduct research to create mutants, but during the course of numerous experiments, hundreds of people died, and today it was supposed to be Alice's turn. Linda was shocked by what she heard. She worked for this terrible man. Masha suggested that the reason they were interested in Alice was that she survived an experiment where the survival rate was no more than 1%, becoming a special mutant. After her words, the hero looked at his sister. A few minutes ago, he noticed that she froze in front of the dead mutant. When he wanted to call out to her, the girl sank down next to the corpse, carefully examining him. The next moment, she snatched the monster's chip. He was amazed as he watched Alice calmly eat the torn part from the corpse. The guy doubted whether his sister was still human. Louis decided to discard these thoughts and ask the system where the energy core was located, for which he came here. He was told that it was in the safe behind him. He asked Masha if she knew the code to the safe. A minute later, the safe was opened, and the system gave the hero a reward for successfully completing the task. When the girl asked what the box was in Louis's hand, he replied that it was an energy core, after which he added that he had something to tell them. A couple of moments later, he informed the girls about the existence of a safe haven and invited the girls to join him, convincing them that together they could survive. Masha happily accepted his offer because she had nowhere else to go. Linda, to the hero's surprise, refused. She explained that first she needs to make sure of everything, and if the government has fallen, this does not mean that she will join them, because she is quite capable of surviving in the new world herself. The guy said that he had enough reasons to convince her to join him. He needed Linda and decided to go all in. The girl was amused by his words, and she gave him 5 seconds before her bullet would shoot through his head. The hero urgently needed to come up with something in the time allotted to him, or he was dead. Suddenly his gaze caught the cover of a magazine in the safe. A brilliant idea came to his mind, remembering everything the girl had said earlier. The guy decided to use the system to buy an ingot and turn it into an ID. Clearing his throat, he said that he could reveal his true identity. In fact, he is a special agent in charge of the Noah's Ark project, which is to create a doomsday shelter to save humanity. Linda decided that the guy was mocking her in such a ridiculous way. But the next moment he showed his ID, allowing her to scan it. After looking at the document, the girl said that it was quite easy to create a fake identity for herself, and this did not convince her at all. Taking in more air, he, as befits a military man, said that as a soldier she was obliged to boldly stand up and move forward, saving human lives and trying to restore order in the world in such troubled times. Afterwards he added that with her negligent attitude towards her duty, she was not worthy to bear the title of soldier. When Linda approached him saying that he sounded like a true commander, the hero froze in surprise. The girl said that she was a soldier and really had to do something to save humanity. She was very touched that he had the courage to invite her to join, and she accepted his offer. Sometime later they moved to the dining room. Masha said that there was a large number of different supplies. Meanwhile, the hero was looking through the cards of those who had joined his shelter. He was alarmed when in Linda's card he noticed the relation line highlighted in green, and on the opposite side it was written so-so. The system reported that the relationship was shown in green if the object was well disposed towards the shelter, and red otherwise. Lewis found this part quite useful so that he could identify spies and ill-wishers. Suddenly Masha called out to him, saying that she had found the fittings and film that Lewis needed. Approaching him, she assumed that he intended to build a greenhouse for vegetables. Linda approached them and put down a full bag, saying that as soon as she heard that he was going to build a greenhouse, she immediately walked around and found several types of vegetable seeds. In fact, the hero wanted to make a bed for his sister. He was amazed at the girl's intelligence. The thought of a greenhouse did not even occur to him. When they approached the entrance to the shelter, the girls froze in bewilderment. Lewis explained that the hatch was only an emergency entrance. The main one was blocked with stones. Once inside, Linda was pleasantly surprised by what she saw. The girls expected it to be only a small basement, but it was quite spacious. The hero himself was amazed even more than his guests. During his absence, the shelter doubled in size, and a dining room and a relaxation room appeared here. Having come to his senses, he told the girls about the layout of the room. Entering the kitchen, he said that here, all edible ingredients are transferred to artificial intelligence processing to obtain the desired dish. The computer on the far wall contains all the recipes known to the world. After they moved to the pump room, which was one of the main vital centers of the shelter, the hero said that it would be possible to store water here as soon as electricity appeared. Next, the guy took them to the restroom, which had its own bath with hot water. At the moment, it can accommodate 10 people. The last place they found themselves was the main entrance, covered with a pile of stones after the explosion. Suddenly, Linda came forward, saying that the guy could leave this problem to her. After she took out an unknown device, when Lewis asked what it was, the girl replied that he would soon see everything for himself. As soon as she hooked it onto a rock, everyone hid in cover. A few seconds later, there was an explosion. Looking outside, the guy saw that the passage had been cleared. Linda said that it was a special bomb for breaking doors. 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 Using the open passage, Lewis reached the electricity generation room. He replaced the core, after which the mechanism began to move again. Sometime later, the girls went to the bathroom, enjoying a warm shower. At the same time, the hero told the system to upgrade the shelter to the second level. He was informed that the upgrade would take 6 days, that the power source would run out in 4 months, and that he needed to look for a new core. A few moments later, the system reported 4 new blueprints for the teleportation rooms, the medical office, the medical suit lab, and the firearms lab. Linda was surprised to discover that the shelter even had its own uniform. When the girls came out, the former commander was unhappy with how revealing and impractical the outfit he had chosen for them was. Lewis himself was surprised by what they were wearing. The system said that these clothes were created by his imagination. Linda slapped him on the head, saying that this time she would forgive him for this mistake, but next time he would definitely regret it. A couple of minutes later, they started a meeting where Masha said that the food they had obtained would be enough for them for 2 months if they were saving. They had no problems with water, so finding food and a new source of energy became important tasks for them. Linda said they can find food and energy a few kilometers away, and they don't have to worry about medicine because they can be collected at the hospital. Having summed up all the results, Masha asked if there was anything else Lewis wanted to add. He replied that they would not be able to collect food around the area forever. The guy took the girls to the pump room, where he reminded them about the greenhouse and said that he was going to install it here, where there was enough space and quick access to water. The girls asked if he needed their help in this matter, but the hero refused. Afterwards, he turned to the system and purchased all the missing materials. A couple of seconds later, the necessary equipment for construction appeared, and the system said that the greenhouse would be ready in 2 days. When everyone went to bed in the guest room, he faced a serious problem. This was the first time for him to sleep in the same room with girls, despite the fact that he was in a relationship, but he didn't even hold his ex's hand. When Masha began to toss and turn, he turned to the wall, asking the system to tell him more about the design of the improved shelter. He was surprised when he learned that in order to produce weapons, he needed authority points. For this, he needed to get another newcomer into his ranks. He was distracted when the girl began to undress and approach him. The hero turned to the wall again. He didn't want Linda to wake up. If she caught him at such an inappropriate moment, then the nickname of a pervert would forever be assigned to him. Suddenly, he felt the warmth of a girl clinging to him. He wondered if she understood what she was doing in such an inappropriate situation. When he felt her breath against his ear, his heart skipped a beat. The guy couldn't stand it and decided to talk some sense into Masha, turning over to the other side. Seeing that the girl was snoring peacefully, he calmed down a little. Lewis realized that the girl was a sleepwalker and should not wake her up now, otherwise there would be a huge misunderstanding. He stood up and headed to the main room of the shelter, telling the system that he wanted to try out new magical transformation abilities. The hero decided to start with the ammunition found in the ruins. Taking one cartridge, he began to modify it. A moment later, the system reported that the converted bullet had an explosive effect. Lewis does not have any ranged weapons, so he asked to remember that he had the talent for throwing weapons, after which the system displayed a list of all the abilities available to him. After carefully studying everything, Lewis told the system to increase the sensation talent by 2 points and increase the martial artist talent by 3 points. He decided to add the remaining points to physical strength. After that, all his characteristics increased, and he also received a special attribute in the form of purple martial arts master gloves. He asked if it was normal that they were marked in purple. The system replied that the chance of receiving a purple item was 5%. When the guy decided to put on gloves, blue stripes ran down his arm, carrying with it severe pain. A couple of moments later, a glove appeared on his hand, with the help of which he could attract metal to himself. Suddenly, his phone notified him of a new delivery order. When the guy picked up the phone, Olivia asked him to come to her rescue. She needed his help. In the morning, he and Linda went outside. The hero was very worried about his sister. He left her in Masha's care. Alice came down with a fever, and her mutation began to progress again. When Lewis talked about a recent call from Olivia, Linda said that this girl was the president of a large company. She offered to start searching for her so they would get more information about the Minister of Health, to whom Olivia was once engaged. Masha reported that she was now in a shopping center a few kilometers away. After 20 minutes of running around the courtyards, they decided to take a break and recuperate, because further on there was a whole crowd of zombies and we needed to be as careful as possible. Lewis said that he modified her bullet, and now it has an explosive effect, so the girl must use it wisely. The hero himself, in addition to his blade, now has explosive darts, an explosive sword capable of exploding, and gloves that can move 40 kilograms of metal. Linda said that they were moving out in 2 minutes. Turning to him, she noticed that he was looking at one point, thinking about something. The girl approached him closely, suggesting that he was so interested in her thighs that he had listened to everything she had just said. Confused, he moved away from her, saying that he had come up with a way to move quickly and safely. After which the guy pointed to a military truck standing nearby. Linda excitedly said that if they broke the glass, the noise would attract zombies, but the hero calmed her down, saying that he had a solution to this problem. As Lewis got closer, he noticed a zombie inside. When the girl suggested finding another car, the guy put his gloved hand forward. A couple of seconds later, the keys that were in the zombie's breast pocket flew up. The hero was lucky that the upper window was open, through which he pulled them out. Linda watched this with delight, telling the guy that he had some pretty interesting toys in stock. Climbing inside, Lewis killed the zombie and took its place. A moment later, the car started moving. They cleared their way by knocking down monsters and crushing them under their wheels. Linda definitely liked this method of punishment. She looked terribly pleased. Lewis did not share her joy and asked her to drive less aggressively. The hero noted that when the girl joined them, she became much more cheerful. Linda replied that, while serving in a special detachment, she constantly had to do all the dirty work. Now that all this was gone, she felt freer. Suddenly, the guy noticed how 2 zombies began to merge into one monster. He was amazed that the zombies began to evolve. Meanwhile, Olivia was running away and hiding from the monsters with all her might. Her hope of salvation began to fade when the doors and windows could no longer be blocked, and it was only a matter of time before she joined the zombie army. When one of them finally burst into the room, she had already accepted her fate. But suddenly she was rescued by a group of other survivors. She managed to get out, following her saviors. They opened a door through which monsters could break into their shelter. Olivia thanked them for saving her, then asked who they were. The men introduced themselves in turn. Then they asked how she ended up here. The girl replied that when zombies began to appear, the electricity in her car went out, and she had been looking for shelter for a long time before coming here. After listening to her, the policeman suggested that they return to the general gathering place. Walking inside the shopping center, the girl saw a small group of survivors. Glancing over them, Olivia came to the conclusion that the team consisted of good people. The girl drew attention to the guest and asked the policeman who the woman was that came with him. Suddenly, 3 guys came out to them, asking about their progress in finding food. Noticing Olivia, Travis immediately approached her and, grabbing her by the waist, offered canned food in exchange for 1 hot night. In response to his proposal, she gave him a resounding slap in the face. The girl warned that if he touched her again, she would definitely break something for him. Travis stood up and wanted to put her in her place. Before he could take a step, the barrel of a pistol was pointed at him. Paul said that he remains a policeman even during the apocalypse, and he will not allow an escaped prisoner to run amok. Travis said that it was just a joke and backed away. The policeman said that the guy would put the food he got. Those who want to eat should go to Paul to kill zombies. After analyzing the situation, Olivia came to the conclusion that she could not rely on anyone from this group. Afterwards, she said that she had basic knowledge of logistics and could take care of the food. Richard swore that he would definitely make her regret his refusal. Meanwhile, not far from the shopping center, another group of survivors tried to escape from the zombies, who for some unknown reason had become much faster. Suddenly, another zombie appeared in front of the man running ahead. His partner told him to duck down, after which he hit the monster with a bat. But he attacked Michael again. Lewis made it at the last second, cutting the zombies in half. The man hugged the guy's leg, tearfully thanking his savior. When another zombie approached, the hero took out his modified throwing knife and threw it at the enemy. When the knife reached its target, it instantly exploded. Other monsters did not stand idle, but actively attacked their victims. Lewis couldn't help but notice that the monsters began to develop at lightning speed. When the blade of his blade overtook the next victim, the guy was suddenly called out. Linda shot the zombie while hugging the guy. The hero attacked the next monster, but it dodged his blade, breaking the blade in 2. Then the guy activated his glove. The next moment, the broken blade pierced the monster's head from behind. Lewis tried to understand the reason for the rapid evolution of zombies. He noticed that the shooting had attracted even more zombies to them. After looking around, he found a place suitable for hiding, which he informed the others about. They moved to the workshop, examining it for the presence of monsters. Suddenly, breaking the glass, a monster appeared a meter away from our hero. He pierced her with a spear, getting rid of the threat. Having walked around the entire floor, Linda said that it was now safe here, and they could safely stay overnight in this place. Sometime later, the girl began to watch through the window what was happening outside and reported that they were surrounded by zombies on all sides. Lewis said that there was no need to worry about it, because when he created a new weapon, the undead crowd would no longer be a problem for them. The man suddenly spoke up, introducing himself as Vince, and saying that he was an electrician and was grateful to the guy for saving him. When Lewis found out that the man was an electrician, he invited him to join him, offering accommodation and food. The man was surprised by such an offer and said that he would first discuss everything with his comrades. Suddenly, the man's stomach began to growl. The hero could not help but take advantage of this, and, taking out canned food and water, he said that if Vince joins him, he will immediately help his injured friend, and they will not need anything. The man replied that he would rather give himself up to be torn to pieces by zombies than accept anything from Lewis. An hour later, the hero went down to the bottom floor, collecting materials for a new weapon. Once he had everything he needed, he got to work. The next morning, when they looked out the window, they watched in horror as hundreds of zombies scurried around there. The girl said that they would have to look for another way out. Suddenly, she was attracted by the screams of a zombie with severed limbs tied to a moving car. Vince watched in amazement as the unknown people took the monsters away from them. Linda said they needed to get out of here as quickly as possible. But before they had time to take a couple of steps, strangers flew in through the window. The man with the bat said that the underground clan had arrived. Linda immediately began shooting at the intruders. Suddenly, another girl attacked her from behind, but she managed to dodge the unexpected attack. Vince and his friend were taken hostage. The dark-haired girl said that if she dared to shoot, her friends would meet a sad end. Afterwards, she took out a photo of Olivia and asked if she had seen this woman. Linda replied that she had never met her. The girl began to worry about Lewis's absence in the current situation. 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 In the current. Vince's friend said he heard on the radio that a woman named Olivia had joined a group of survivors at a nearby shopping center. Karen thanked the guy for his honesty and promised to spare his life. Then she turned to Linda, offering her a battle, setting the condition that if the girl wins, then Karen will allow her to leave. Without waiting for an answer, she rushed at her opponent. Suddenly, a hero appeared behind Linda, telling her to move away. He blocked Karen's blow with a modified horse mask. Lewis started the chainsaw, causing her to move away. A moment later, fire began to erupt from the mask's mouth. The girl managed to bend down to escape the heat of the flame. Karen didn't understand where this strange guy with a chainsaw and a horse mask came from. Meanwhile, at the mall, Olivia was enjoying herself while sipping lemonade while sitting in her beach swimsuit. Travis and his friends thought of a good moment when the girl would be alone, again offering to have fun together. Leaning over her ear, he said that this time he would not care about her answer, because he liked to tame girls with character. Olivia wasn't going to tolerate being grabbed without permission. She poured her drink on the impudent man's face, after which he fell to the floor, rubbing his eyes. Travis rushed at the girl, saying that he proposed in a good way. Paul suddenly appeared and stopped him, again putting the gun to his head. The men who worked as security guards knocked down the former criminals. The policeman admitted that at first he did not believe Olivia's words when she said that Travis would want to attack her, but as it turned out, it was in vain. Meanwhile, not far from the shopping center, explosions were heard every now and then. Karen praised the boy for his abilities. When one of the swords was knocked out of her hands, she tried to distract the enemy's attention by talking. But Lewis released fire again, forcing her to dodge. After waiting for the fire to die down, Karen threw a sword at his chainsaw. Using his glove, the hero redirected the weapon. He attacked the girl with it, knocking her down. Then they grabbed her by the neck, informing her that she had lost. Taking off his mask, the hero reminded that, according to the conditions, the girl must let his friends go. Having assessed the guy's appearance and abilities, Karen came to the conclusion that he was in league with Olivia and said that they would soon go and grab her. When Lewis asked why she was so eager to capture Olivia, the girl replied that the Minister of Health was promising a generous reward for her capture. The hero decided to get rid of the future problem in the bud by strangling Karen here. A sudden explosion outside thwarted his plans for the captured girl. Looking out the window, Linda saw cars fly into the air from the force of the explosion. The system warned the hero about the approach of a powerful mutant. A zombie engulfed in flames lifted a nearby car. The next second, he launched it into the building where our hero was. When the wall collapsed, allowing a car into the room, those inside had to dodge to avoid falling under the rubble. Lewis grabs Vince, saying this is their chance to escape. Karen's subordinates informed her that the hostages managed to escape. The girl replied that the first thing they need to do is deal with the zombies, after which they will go to the shopping center for Olivia. Olivia herself imposed a food restriction, because their supplies would only last for 5 days. Paul said that he sent people to patrol the surrounding area, and tomorrow they would go together in search of food. The policeman was grateful to her for the help she provided, but Anna was unhappy that the newcomer had already managed to seize both power and Paul's favor. She asked the reason why they would now need to save food. Olivia calmly replied that if they did not save, they would either die of hunger or they would all be eaten by monsters. After that, she asked the old woman how pregnant the girl she had seen earlier was. She was told that as soon as that girl came to them, her pregnancy was short, but in a few days her belly had grown greatly, as if she was about to give birth. Olivia was alarmed by this information. She asked the old woman to bring the girl some food. Anna again butted into the conversation, accusing the girl of leaving her without a proper answer to the question. Paul tried to reason with his friend, saying that now is not the best time to throw tantrums and scandals. After that, Olivia shared with him her thoughts that there might not be a baby in the pregnant girl's belly. Earlier, she looked at her bandaged hand, and the wound was completely different from a simple scratch. Anna watched this couple from the side. She increasingly succumbed to the rage directed at Olivia. Travis could not help but notice what was happening to her, and calling her over, said that he had one way to put Olivia in her place and return Paul to the girl. At the same time, in one of the rooms of the shopping center, the girl went into labor. She asked her husband who delivered the child if everything was okay with their child. Calming his wife, the man replied that he was fine and she had nothing to worry about. Suddenly an old woman came into the room, bringing them food. When she saw the girl lying on the bed, she could not contain her horror, dropping the food on the floor. Grabbing her face, she screamed that it was a zombie. The man tried to explain everything in order to calm the frightened old woman. But at one moment, tentacles pierced his chest. Paul asked if he had understood correctly that most likely there was a parasite in the pregnant girl's stomach. He didn't wait for confirmation from Olivia, because direct evidence of her words came straight to them. The policeman started shooting at the zombies, but his bullets had no effect. The next moment, the monster rushed straight towards them, moving like a spider. Olivia told the guy standing next to him to run ahead and clear the road, and they would bring out the zombies. The girl was unhappy that her plan had failed again. She could only rely on the boy she met a few days ago. The guy sent ahead was killed by a blow to the neck as soon as he found the door leading to the exit. Paul watched this in horror. Taking advantage of the moment, Anna grabbed the gun from him and aimed it at the man, telling him not to move. She said that this is all happening because of Olivia. The girl is obliged to kill her. Suddenly, Olivia was grabbed from behind. The girl only hoped for Louis to appear. Travis then grabbed the gun from Anna. He shot Paul in the head, leaving the girl terrified. They grabbed her so she wouldn't escape. Travis himself and his friend began to tear Olivia's clothes, tying her hands behind her back. All her hopes of getting out of here alive were tied to Louis. After she saw that even a policeman was killed with such ease, she realized that a simple courier would certainly not be able to cope alone. Suddenly, someone burst into the hall, killing the girl who had applied earlier. The girl turned around to see what happened. Olivia was very surprised when she saw the guy she had already shrugged off behind the mask. She couldn't believe that he had actually come for her. The hero approached her and hit the former criminals with all his might. After that, he threw his bike over her, saying that she was now safe. The girl admitted that she did not expect him to appear here, but he replied that he had made a promise and was obliged to keep it. Noticing that she was sniffing his bike, he apologized for the inconvenience all the way here, and all his clothes must have smelled of sweat. But Olivia only thanked him, noting that his clothes didn't stink at all, but rather calmed her down. Travis pointed a gun at him, asking why a poor man would serve someone like her. Louis used his glove again. The gun pinned the man's hand to the wall, causing discomfort. The next second, the hero pierced his body with his chainsaw. He said that although he is a poor man, he believes that he will definitely realize all his dreams through his own efforts. A huge zombie suddenly appeared from the opening and grabbed Travis by the head. The monster lifted the man's body above him while he begged for help. Not even a couple of seconds passed before he was crushed by a huge zombie hand. Everyone watched the scene unfolding in front of them in horror. The system notified the hero of the impending danger and recommended escaping. Approaching Louis, Olivia asked if he had brought him along. He replied that this zombie chased his team all the way to the entrance to the shopping center, and he had no choice but to distract it with himself. The guy saw the monster release its tentacles, intending to attack with them. Not even a couple of seconds had passed before the bodies, standing in front of Olivia and Louis, were pierced through. When the girl asked if they would be able to escape from the monster, the hero replied, putting on a mask, that it would not be so easy to get rid of him. The next moment, he released flames onto the blades of his saw. Having launched it, the guy easily cut through these tentacles. Having gotten rid of the obstacle, he decided to inflict damage on the zombie's body. But he did not allow him to get closer, sending the guy flying with one blow. Olivia asked if Louis was okay when he stopped next to her. Clearing his throat, he replied that everything was fine. He was lucky that he had thought to cover himself with a saw, otherwise the damage would have been more serious. A truck suddenly appeared and knocked the monster off his feet. Karen asked if Louis had been waiting for her. When her subordinate pointed to Olivia, saying that they had finally found their target, the girl asked how they knew her. Karen replied that her fiancé ordered her to save his would-be bride. The girl seemed surprised when she heard who exactly sent them. The hero turned to the girl, intending to tell her something, when he accidentally put his hand instead of her shoulder on her chest. He immediately put his hand away, saying that because of the mask he could not see what exactly he was grabbing. Karen, who watched this scene, called the girl shameless. Not everyone would dare to cheat on a man like her fiancé. Olivia asked the girl to apologize for her words because with Louis they simply have a mutually beneficial relationship, and with Roger they are only engaged. Taking off his mask, the hero intervened in the girl's conversation, turning attention to himself. He approached Olivia, saying that her fiancé was not a good man. It was he who secretly built a dungeon in the main hospital of the city, conducting secret research there on the virus, because of which everyone began to turn into zombies, and because of him, Louis's younger sister was captured and turned into a monster. Olivia thought about the hero's words. The mentioned hospital was one of her enterprises. It was difficult for her to believe that, in secret from her, the groom was doing such dirty deeds on her own territory. The girl was thinking about whether she should trust the guy, but taking into account the fact that he risked his life and rushed to look for her in a city infested with zombies, she decided that there was no point in him lying to her. When Karen asked if Olivia agreed to go with her, she replied that she believed the boy who saved her, and until Roger himself came to look for her, she would not take a step with the mercenary. The girl was annoyed that Louis had once again ruined everything, and because of him she also developed a strange addiction to choking. Suddenly the monster behind the truck began to move. He rose with the car, towering over his victims. Karen realized that this guy had set her up again, dragging her into a mess with a monster that they had a hard time getting rid of earlier. The system warned the hero that the zombie forces continue to increase. He needs to escape from here as quickly as possible. Louis was surprised that the severed limb began to grow back. He took Olivia's hand, telling her they needed to run. As they ran around the corner towards the exit, a strong explosion was heard behind them, accompanied by a column of dust. The guy called Linda, asking where she was now. The girl replied that they were on the second floor of the shopping center destroying zombies. He said that he managed to save Olivia, but a huge zombie was chasing them. He asked if Linda could destroy it. After looking around, an idea came to her, and she said that the hero could rely on her and ordered them to go up to the second floor. As soon as Louis opened the door, there was a whole crowd of zombies there. He was horrified at the sight of so many. At the moment, his maximum allowed him to kill 5 zombies at once, but there were at least several dozen. When he thought about just giving up, the image of his happily smiling sister who needed him popped into his mind. 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 Popped. Olivia said they had better go back because they couldn't handle so many. The guy replied that he could not turn back because his sister was waiting for him. The next moment, he seated the girl in the grocery cart, apologizing for the inconvenience. When Louis modified the cart, the girl watched him with confusion, wondering what kind of power it was that allowed him to connect different objects. Having connected his saw and the cart, the hero said that this design was created specifically for Olivia. With the help of it, they will be able to safely break through the crowd of zombies. The girl noticed how the guy was trembling with fear. The hero said that if they still cannot break through this crowd, they will die. Taking his hand, she said that he saved her. If they die, then she would not mind doing it while next to him. Olivia then kissed Louis on the forehead. Then she said that if they did not die, then in gratitude for the salvation she would fulfill one of his requests. After that, he covered her with his shirt, hiding the girl from the monsters. He himself pulled on his horse mask, handing over his life to fate. The monsters were attracted by the sound of a switched-on saw, and everyone turned to its source. Louis passed through the monsters quite easily, cutting his way with the attached saw. He fought off the zombies rushing at him from the side with the help of a mask. Suddenly, the cartwheel got stuck in a piece of cloth. He was also caught up from behind, and he felt the touch of zombies on his shoulders. They had only a few meters to go before they left, but the surrounded Louis was at a loss. He was again visited by the thought that he would die right here. He felt a sharp pain in his shoulder as a zombie tentacle pierced his skin. The hero was glad that he had injected himself with the vaccine earlier. Although he was immune to the virus, this did not change the fact that they could tear him to pieces. Suddenly he noticed a lamp on the ceiling. He used his glove to bring his idea to life. With effort, the lamp gave way and began to slowly separate from the ceiling. A couple of seconds later, it fell on the heads of the zombies. Louis took advantage of this opportunity and broke forward. And now he finally reached the exit, rushing to the finish line in a dangerous race with death. The guy pulled the lever down to activate the door mechanism. The next moment, he was separated from the zombie crowd and was completely safe. Getting out from under his shirt, the girl asked if he was okay. Olivia watched as the guy absorbed the electricity. Once out on the stairs, he said that they needed to meet with his team. Once in the right place, the hero saw Linda and ran up to her and asked if she had everything ready. She answered with a nod. As soon as she noticed Olivia, she approached her, threatening that if the girl pulled any trick, she would shoot her on the spot at that very moment. Olivia realized that this girl was from the government and began to worry that she might sell Lewis to her superiors. Linda was delighted that her threats most likely had no effect on the girl. She turned her attention to the hero, examining him for wounds. When she noticed that he was injured, Lewis said that he had taken the medicine for the virus earlier and had nothing to worry about. When he took off his mask and pointed to his forehead, where there was a lipstick mark, the guy said that he could not afford to die after receiving such a wonderful gift. The girl demanded that he immediately erase this mark from his forehead. Vince, who was nearby, shouted for the couple to finish making love because they had one important thing to do. Linda pulled away from the guy and grabbed her weapon. She walked up to the statue. Lewis praised the girl for such a grandiose trap. Suddenly, a zombie burst into the room, for which all the fun was being prepared here. The guy started up his saw, telling the girls to run away while he helped the guys trying to get rid of the monster. The guy ran forward, delaying the zombies. But he could not hold out for long. The enemy threw him into a wall located a few meters away from him. Vince got caught in the wires and tried to free himself before the zombie overtook him. A couple of moments later, he decided to give up these futile attempts, saying that in this world it was no longer possible to work normally or just live an ordinary life. The man admitted that living in a shelter, he would quickly wither away and would not be able to spend the rest of his life there. As the monster approached, hovering over the desperate man for a second, Vince abruptly fell silent. A second later, he screamed at the top of his voice, asking for help. Lewis, who came to his senses after hitting the wall, cut the zombie's limb with a saw. Then he gave the signal that it was time to start while he got rid of the extra tentacles. The electrician tried to connect the broken wire. A few long seconds later, he succeeded and the statue exploded. Turning around, Lewis shouted that the statue was not completely undermined. Olivia and two men tried to bring down this hulk while Linda protected them from the rear. The girl fired at the zombie the hero was fighting, but due to the monster's tough skin, her bullets were of no use. Meanwhile, the statue finally gave in and fell right on top of the zombies.